Good evening, everybody. I am Nicholas Milonni, just a regular old American citizen, and I'm here to start a new YouTube channel where I'll be sort of discussing current events, politics, and the whole nine yards in regards to the United States of America. And this is just sort of the introductory video for the channel, and we're going to talk a little bit about what exactly we're going to be covering and give a little bit of an introduction to what I'd like to talk about on this channel today. So, I think, just to start off with discussing a little bit of current event stuff and to give a little bit of my own perspective here, I think that a lot of Americans in this country today, we feel sort of neglected, and we feel neglected by many things, not the least of which is probably our own government. I think many Americans could probably relate to that. But also, we feel neglected by the wealthy business class in the country, as well as perhaps neglected by our own fellow citizens. I think a lot of Americans find themselves feeling like nobody cares about them. And I think that's a very serious problem. So, if we can start with just a little bit of current event talk here to sort of get the ball rolling, we could talk about the government in this country. The government, in my opinion, seems kind of always like it's focused on helping out other folks rather than doing its job and focusing on the United States and the American citizens. And, whether usually it's often like a foreign conflict or something like that, like Ukraine, for instance, right, which is happening now. And regardless of how many of us feel about that conflict, some of you may support a side in the conflict. Some of you may not want nothing to do with it. I'm actually kind of one of the people who want nothing to do with it. It's a big issue when the government says, okay, we can spare billions of dollars for you, but lots of people here are living paycheck to paycheck and the roads aren't being fixed. And, it's just, we feel like we're being sidelined as American citizens and sort of put off to the side. And we feel like we're not as important to the government as, foreign people, and foreign countries, even, right? Foreign governments, Ukraine, Israel, Taiwan, right? These are some of the bigger ones, at least as of now, that we're kind of often engaged in supporting. Our government's often engaged in supporting. So I think that's a big, serious issue. How are we supposed to provide for these other folks when we can't even provide for ourselves? That's a big, big, serious issue, I think. And moving on to the sort of business class folks in the country, um, I think I think it's a big issue there because a lot of people right now, it seems, kind of struggling to make ends meet and find good, decent paying jobs. Uh, Folks who were only interested in making money, they kind of took the manufacturing base of this great country, shipped it overseas, right? We have a whole region of the country known as the Rust Belt. Why is it called that? Because all the factories over there are no longer operating, they're rusting and they're decaying. It's horrible. I mean, it really is very, very sad. And states like Michigan, Ohio, Wisconsin, right? Pennsylvania. We used to have a lot of great industry here, and it's all gone overseas to places like China, India, Vietnam, and probably many others, which I'm currently forgetting. But it's a big, big problem, and so we're losing a lot of our great wealth and manufacturing capacity, or we have already lost it. And with the loss of that wealth comes with the loss of jobs for good, hardworking Americans, and it's a serious, serious problem. And then in regards to higher education, it seems like jobs out of school, colleges, universities, places like that are often harder to come by too. I recently graduated myself with a degree of cybersecurity from the Rochester Institute of Technology. Apparently, it's a very good school, right? Very good school, well known, right? Uh, it's not working out for me. I can't find a single job in the field, and I really tried. I'm really, really trying at it, and there's just nothing coming up. Why is that? Well, I think a lot of these tech companies, they often prefer to hire foreign workers as well. You may have heard of the H-1B visas, right? That's a serious, serious problem. People like Elon Musk like to use things like that. They hire, foreigners like Indians and people like that. It's a serious, serious problem. And why would someone hire me when they can hire someone from a foreign nation like India for half the price, right? So we're also kind of taking it in the teeth in that regard. And I imagine, I can't say for certain, but I would imagine a lot of college students that have recently graduated are probably experiencing similar things, especially if they went into the tech field. It seems like there's really a lot more people in the field than there are open positions. And if there is an open position, it's often not going to an American. And that's a serious, serious problem. And I think as well, in regards to, I mentioned earlier that Americans might be kind of neglecting each other here. I think we've lost sort of a sense of community in this country. Uh, it's really an important thing. I mean, how many of you, and perhaps I'm in the minority here, maybe I've got it wrong, but how many of you watching this right now know who your neighbors are? Do you have good relationships with your neighbors? Do you attend community events? How engaged are you in your community? I think that's a good question to sort of ask ourselves here because strong families are the building blocks of a strong community. Strong communities, building blocks of strong country, right? America was built on small communities and families and stuff like that. And I think we're losing a lot of that, which is really quite sad. So, and this is not meant to be, the negative, the negative Nancy show or anything like that, but we do have some serious problems, and I think that it's perfectly good to sort of outline those problems and perhaps discuss some solutions to them. And we're going to keep an open mind as we sort of explore these problems together and maybe talk about what the best course of action could be. And I think a lot of folks in this country as well have sort of lost grasp of what being an American is really all about, right? And that's another thing I'd like to explore on this channel. Of course, we're going to discuss current events and politics and all the other important stuff, but what is an American, right? What makes us Americans? I want to sort of use this channel to both cover current events, politics, and news and everything else, but also try to use it to explore the founding fathers and our great history and, important ideas that they used to share and stand by and talk about what makes an American American, right? What makes us who we are. I want to sort of reintroduce Americans to themselves. I think a lot of Americans have really forgotten what being an American is really all about. And I'd really love to sort of get to the point once more where I can talk about that sort of thing on this channel. So I think it'd be great to explore those ideas as well. And I very, very much hope that you'll stick around, and I very, very much hope that you'll take great interest in the conversations we have here, and I look forward to seeing you around and seeing your input. And before we go, I'd like to ask you a simple question. What does America mean to you? Right? What does it mean to you? That's a very, very important question. What does America mean to you? Because to me, it means quite a lot. This is my home. I was born here. I'll always live here. I never plan on leaving here. I love this place. I'm a very patriotic person, in case you haven't noticed. Hey, look at this beautiful flag here, right? That's the most beautiful flag to ever exist. I truly believe that. It's beautiful. But what does it mean to you, right? What does it mean to you? And maybe it means not very much. And that's okay, but I hope I can try to change your mind if you'll stick around and hear me out and hear what I have to say. So feel free to leave in the comments what America means to you, and I would love to hear all sorts of different answers. So thank you for tuning in, and I hope that you have yourself a wonderful, wonderful day.